Hi, I'm Hannah Landis, and today I'm going to talk about wrist and general body mechanics for Thai massage. And so first we're going to work with stabilizing the shoulder joint. Touch your fingertips together in front of you and press your shoulder blades forward and down. And so I'll turn to the side so you can see. We're trying to avoid retraction and elevation of the shoulders, which happens a lot when people start to put weight down on their hands. And so you can think about the elbows pressing forward, and with it, it spreads the shoulder blades apart. You press the shoulder blades down, which makes sure that your neck retains the space it needs to function. And that's where your shoulders will basically stay throughout the course of the massage you're giving. Then you extend your elbows, so straighten your arms in either directions, and start with extending the wrists. And this is a median nerve stretch. We've touched on it in other videos. From here, you're just going to work with finger flexion. And so just try pumping your hands open and closed a few times. And what this will do is, by extending the wrist, you're activating the back side of the forearm, the hairy side. And by flexing the fingers, you're activating the underside of the forearm, the flexors. And so just a few pumps here to activate the fingers, warm them up. In fact, you can get creative with it and change the position of the wrist to neutral, and you can do it with the wrist in flexion. And all of these are good positions for you to warm your wrists up in. And then you're going to stop with your hands in extension again. And so the wrist is an extension, the fingers are an extension, and we're going to try just individually flexing one finger at a time. And so first with our thumbs, flex and curl the thumb in. I can really feel that strongly activating my wrist. I'm going to uncurl it. And then I'm going to curl my index finger and bring it in. And it's hard to keep the other fingers extended as you do this, but what you're doing essentially is creating what in yoga is called a bandha, and I'm just progressing through my fingers here, which is the co-activation of opposing muscle groups. And this is one of the best ways for you to control and support the pressure in the joints as you load bear on them. And so I'm just going to work my way back to the thumb. You might find that some fingers are easier than others. I can definitely feel my ring finger is a little sticky on all of these. And then just shake them out, give your arms a break. And so to return to that position with the arms anew, what you want essentially, and maybe now bring your arms actually straight out ahead of you the way you would while you're giving Thai massage, your wrists end up in extension often. And so what people often do is they move their shoulders forward of the wrist, and it moves the wrist into hyperextension. And so what you want to do essentially is to keep your shoulder in line with your wrist and create just a little bit of a gripping sensation through the fingers so that both sides of the forearm and therefore both sides of the wrist are engaged. And so now this pillow is a stand-in for the back of the person I'm massaging. I would start with my shoulder above my wrist. And I want to avoid coming way forward and hyperextending the wrist as we talked about. And so first, I'm just going to create that little bit of gripping in my hands as I start to walk forward. And once I've gone so far that the angle of my armpit is really open, it's changed pretty radically, I don't really feel like I have a lot of pressure here, then I would have to change my body position so that I can continue walking with the proportion of my shoulder and my wrist still essentially the same throughout the march. Taking this pillow as a back, I would then, in order to work on, say, the top of the shoulders, and you'll notice that it becomes rather impossible for me to keep the wrist from hyperextending with my shoulder up here, I would have to bend my elbows, and now the straight line needs to come from my elbow to my wrist in order to work on this part of the body. And that's just useful information if you start working on more complicated angles of a person's body as you work. So these were palm compressions. The other major tool we use in Thai massage is thumb compressions. And what you want to do there is essentially go from flat palms for the palm compression to thumb print. And so now I want my thumb to create the straight line up to my shoulder as opposed to my wrist creating the straight line. I want to have the palms elevated so you can see that I can fit my whole hand through here. And when I lean forward, it ends up putting the pressure from my shoulder straight down to my thumb. And again, I never want to go beyond the line of my thumbs. It's way too much weight in my thumbs. It doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel like I have control. And so I always want my thumbs forward at a pretty even angle from my shoulders. And so if I were to take that down to my pillow to practice, what I want to do, and I can work on the thumbs, especially if I'm working on a sloping back here, to stay seated back. And then as I start to move forward, I need to bring my shoulders again just behind the line of my thumbs. And by looking at the pillow, I can see most definitely that the space underneath my finger pads is not really indenting, but what's really indenting is the thumbprints as they press into the pillow. Another good thing to keep in mind is that any of the active warm-ups that you do for Thai massage can also be cool downs at the end of work. And so if you find that your wrists are uncomfortable, you can do this hand pumping position and the individual finger curling position to just reactivate. Since it activates and tones both sides of the wrist, it'll help support your hands when you're done doing Thai massage. Hopefully wrist pain will never be an issue for you as you work, and if you keep working with this kind of exercise before and after, then you should be massaging for a very long time to come. Thank you.